Good morning, everyone. We're slowly seeing attendees ticking in. Just give a few more seconds, a minute or so, just to make sure that we have everyone who would like to be here today, so we could start the webinar.
Will we see the questions on the question and answer panel below, or you will read out questions?
I will read out questions when you can see them as well, but I will read out questions if we should. Right, you can see we still have people ticking in, so that is lovely. It's really good to see you all this morning, talking about Asian demand into Europe. I think I will start the webinar officially now. So welcome everyone, welcome to ETOA's webinar about Asian demand. Today we will discuss Asian demand into Europe. We will discuss which markets are slowly opening up, what the demand is, what suppliers can offer, and what the buyers will be able to are looking for, what the clients are looking for in Asia. We will start first with a quick introduction of everyone in this panel, and then afterwards we will have Rachel Reed, who is our Director of Insights at ETOA. She will present Forward Key's presentation about Asian demand and what forward looking into this year, what the demand is. Afterwards, we'll go into a panel discussion where everyone will be able to ask questions, and we will have a good discussion about what the current demand is. So first, I would like to, yes, of course, welcome all of you panelists. It's really nice to see you today. Sharon, would you like to give a little presentation of yourself and who Visaya is?
Yes, I'm the Director of Purchasing for Visaya Travel. Good morning, everybody. We are a leisure wholesaler. We work with leisure groups traveling to Europe. The head office of the company is in London. We have representatives in Madrid, Copenhagen, Rome, and Ljubljana as well. And our sales offices are distributed all over Asia. China, Taiwan, Indonesia, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam in particular. So Asia is clearly one of our main markets, and well, we can't wait to have more business back from Asia with everybody's support, of course. Given the variety of the clients and markets we work with, of course, we need to customize our product to make sure we meet everybody's requirements. So we work with low budget suppliers, create low budget tours, but also upscale and incentives. So we really try to offer a broad variety of products to meet everybody's needs.
Thank you very much, Sharon. Malcolm, do you wanna introduce New Concept Travel?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Malcolm. I'm the director and co-founder of New Concept Travel. We are a wholesale tour operator based in Hong Kong, and thereafter we have our European headquarters here in London, and we have regional offices in Bangkok, Seoul, and Jakarta. In addition to that, we have sales managers in Philippines, Malaysia, Beijing, Shanghai, Taiwan, and Vietnam. Plus we have a representation office in India. We work exclusively through DMCs throughout Europe. That's our business model, and that's the new concept. Through those partnerships, we claim to, well, we do offer everything from Albania to Zimbabwe. There is no part of the world that we don't cover. Our business ranges across the full range. We have tour series, ad hoc leisure groups, technical visits, MICE, and we also do a great deal of offline FIT and city break packages.
Thank you very much, Malcolm. Dr. Adam Wu, would you like to present CBN Travel and MICE?
Thank you, Sophie. Yes, and just call me Adam, really. And CBN Travel and MICE operates both online and offline. So that means that we are a bit more resilient. And indeed, when the offline business was affected by the pandemic, we carried on with our world travel online by promoting foreign destinations attractions, and even incoming service providers on the China Wide Web. First of all, by maintaining and updating the official website, keeping the markets informed. We focus on both the B2B, so because we operate the China Travel and Tourism Club, which is also membership-based like ETOA, as we have over 38,000 corporate members and 28,000 professional members. That's for the MICE markets. So we do focus on both leisure travel and MICE. On the leisure travel side, we cater for both FITs and groups, but really focusing on special interest groups from business executives, official delegations, to students for summer camp, winter camp. That's why Europe, not just UK, actually, the entire Europe has been very popular for those type of groups. This was obviously in the past. And during the pandemic and even immediately after, we see the growing trend of FITs. And we've always been on the higher end of FITs because we don't deal with backpackers. Also, they can access our World Travel Online for destination information, that's for sure. But we tend to provide incoming services or what we call customized, tailor-made services for even, let's say parents who who take their children normally for visiting schools. They come even as early as 8 years, up to A levels, and then visiting universities. And their requirement is quite unique because some of them even want to try out different hotels. They want to visit different attractions, private visits. Even we organized previously to Buckingham Palace or some unique attractions like a Roman bath. But on the MICE side, we have been doing groups or events of large and small. I mean, small obviously for business meetings and so on, visits to the, let's say the London stock markets and so on, but as large as over 5,000 packs for major event we organized in Royal Albert Hall, or we used partner venue, the Central Hall Westminster, regularly for performance from China that's always catered for in around 2,000 people. So this type of services, we really hope to resume, obviously not in such greater numbers, but later, hopefully I can share the new trends from China, really moving fast from group travel to FITs. FITs concept in Chinese mind seem to be different. I'm sure Malcolm will confirm that, or other colleagues, that just a matter of adjusting your supply end to meet those who come in smaller numbers, but probably spending more money or certainly longer time to visit places and stay in a place than a flight, flying over to us.
Thank you very much, Adam. It's I think that is a very natural lead over to Elisa from Trip.com about the FIT market. I think it would be good to hear from you, Elisa.
Thank you so much, Sophie, and good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for your invitation. My name is Elisa Agosta, and I'm head of the UK for Trip.com. Trip.com. We are the biggest online travel agency in China, but in reality, just to link to what Dr. Adam said, we do act as a proper B2B and B2C platform. So Trip.com, as you might know, our core market is China, and our platform offers over 70 travel products, including accommodation, so hotels, flights, tickets for trains, for cars, for buses. We have one of the biggest visa application center in China. So the sort of model we are offering in Europe is quite unique, I will say. So if from one hand we act as a online travel agency, in reality we are a reflection of the way our Chinese customers book, which is through packages. We do offer products to offer an experience. We call it, in fact, one-stop experience where our customers can book everything in one platform. We've been growing quite a lot in Europe over the last 3-4 years. We started with a team of 2 people, so me and my boss, Kate. And now we are sitting at 50 people looking after the European market. Our business is quite, I would say, elaborated, unique, because the B2B platform for us represents also FIT distribution represents one of the biggest chunk of our business, because still our Chinese people book everything, and very unlikely they will book the flights first, the accommodation first. One of the biggest investments Trip.com made in Europe is the acquisition of Skyscanner, for example, or Travix in the Nordic countries, just because we really want to offer and we really want to provide the service and a model that is quite unique. And we really want to kind of transmit, give the impression that what we offer is something completely different compared to the bigger online travel agencies in Europe, such as Booking.com, for example. But even compared to other OTAs, such as Expedia, where yes, indeed they offer flights, but for us it's a one-stop experience.
Thank you very much, Elise. That was a good introduction. Thank you everyone for introducing your companies. It's very interesting business models you all have. Before I ask Rachel to present the slides from Forward Keys, I'm just gonna ask Elisa Lee from ETOA to say hi, because a lot of you might already know her, especially if you are based in Asia or has a big connection to Asia. So Elisa, do you just want to say hi to the crowd?
Hello, thanks for joining ETOA Masterclass Asian Demand. My name is Elisa. Well, Elisa is not my real name. My Chinese name is Li Qiuqiong. It's a bit difficult, so call me Elisa, please. So I'm looking after Asian buyers based in Asia Pacific and Europe. And I would like to take this opportunity to mention something about our first edition of the workshop European Travel Marketplace East and Southeast Asia. So it's our first event, online event. We're not only recruiting Chinese buyers, but also buyers based in Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Korea, Japan, all these Asian countries, because they also have a big demand for these European travel products. So we are happy to offer this kind of opportunity for them to join us and to meet the new travel products and also European suppliers. And thank you for joining us, and I hope to see you this time as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elise. And I think what you mentioned, that we are broadening up this event, is also reflecting very well on the fact that obviously travel from Asia is different from the different countries with regards to the coronavirus situation. So this will give a good opportunity to reach, for the suppliers in Europe, to reach a variety of buyers throughout Asia this time around. Rachel, I would like to give you the opportunity to show some slides and some information about how Asia is looking at the moment going into Europe.
Thank you very much, Sophie. And hello, everybody. Lovely to see you all here today at this webinar. As Sophie mentioned, I am going to present some slides from our partners at Forward Keys. We're very grateful for them for providing this information. It's really, really useful, because one of the great strengths of the Forward Keys data source is that they use actual bookings and search information rather than opinion and projection. So it is a slightly more solid way of looking at things. So it's excellent that we've got access to this. So I'll delve right in. Just to say before I do, the focus of this deck is very much on East and Southeast Asia, in line with the event that Elisa just mentioned. So we've got a masterclass here ahead of that event. So it focuses on those markets, and it comes with a small caveat that it does, of course, predate the unfortunate situation in the Ukraine as well. So this deck was made just a couple of days ahead of that. So just to have those in mind. Let's kick off with the overall aggregated demand in Northeast and Southeast Asia. And we can see some encouraging recovery through February. So you can see through January there, sort of bumping along at about 5% of 2019 level, but we have seen a really encouraging jump to more than double that, up to about 13% at the beginning of February. Now, I know obviously it's coming from a low base at the 4 or 5% mark, so an increase can look larger in that way, but it's very encouraging to see that we are starting to get some spikes, which is something to focus upon. Let us delve a little bit more deeply into the country level. If you look at the table on the left-hand side there, that's called top source markets, we can see Singapore very much leading the way here at 38% of 2019's level. So tracking much, much higher than that overall average of around 13% that we saw on the previous slide. So very much Southeast Asia leading the way in general. We've got then Malaysia and Thailand following behind, and then the two larger markets of Japan and South Korea also making it onto the table. And if you look onto the table on the right-hand side, that is the top destinations. We're looking here at the percentage of 2019's level with bookings so far this year. Turkey very much leading the way on 20%, so being the most resilient. It does come with a slight caveat, though, when you're looking at these percentage rises. If a country has a small base in terms of actual number of travellers, then a percentage increase can look larger than it actually is, because we're coming with a small number of people. So say, for example, Turkey hasn't got the highest actual number of visitors, it's just got the largest percentage increase. If you look on this table, we have the big behemoths of the UK, France and Germany on a slightly lower percentage, but they're coming from a much higher number of visitors in the first place. So we've got Turkey out in front, and then Switzerland and the UK not too far behind, and then France and Germany very close to each other in the 4 and 5 spots. So we are seeing some return amongst both the smaller destinations and the bigger, more established ones. So let us just take a little look here now at Singapore. Because obviously it's very interesting to see why is it that we've got such encouraging and strong demand from Singapore as compared with some of the other origin markets. So if we look at bookings here from the beginning of January, you can see obviously clearly an enormous spike, which kicks in on the 16th of February, and it coincides exactly with the resumption of the VTL flights, which is the vaccinated travel lanes. So that is the agreement between Singapore and various destinations for quarantine-free travel between those two places. And in Europe, that's actually quite a good chunk of our destinations. It's Denmark, France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, Spain, Switzerland, and the UK. So, you know, you can see that's obviously a key driver. And in fact, we have used, in fact, some of our webinars, I think we will have used sentiment analysis from our colleagues at the European Travel Commission. And you can really see in there that quarantine is the biggest driver of booking surges and drops. And it is the single biggest issue for travellers around hesitancy to book, is this obvious unwillingness to quarantine, and obviously in many places having to pay for that at personal expense. And you can see on this chart that absolutely reflects that. As soon as those restrictions are lifted, demand comes back. And I think we've discussed this quite a few times at various of our masterclasses, is that the industry itself is extremely resilient in terms of desire to travel. It's the mechanics that tend to stop people. And I think you can see that reflected here in this slide as well. Quick look at where the Singaporeans are actually going. This table shows the variation in bookings for 2022 so far against the same period in 2019. And you can see the Maldives well up, enormously up than it was in 2019. And what this is really teasing out is the trend towards intra-regional travel ahead of the far long haul destinations. So really in terms of the recovery, we've seen it starting with domestic travel, then intra-regional, and then further and further afield. So people's confidence picking up gradually. And obviously you can see that here. And what I would strongly suspect here is that the Maldives is picking up traffic that would otherwise have come further afield to Europe, and perhaps we'll have confidence to do that later this year or into next year. And as you can see, we've got the European destinations here in terms of their resilience versus the demand down on 2019, with Switzerland doing the best there, down at 22%. The Netherlands and France and the UK also featuring on the table. So, you know, a return to the big established popular destinations would seem to be on the cards once confidence picks up even more. Let us move over to the Chinese market. This slide here is looking at domestic travel, first of all, in China during Golden Week, Chinese New Year, which of course we've obviously just had. And one thing that I think is really encouraging in this slide is even in the midst of a pandemic, we were still able to see spikes in travel during Golden Week, as you can see there in that sort of orange panel there. So even in 2021, we saw increases, and again in 2022, and 2022 looking healthier than 2021 in terms of an increase in the domestic travel in Golden Week, which I think is just generally a very good indicator in terms of desire for demand for travel. Let us move forward on the Chinese demand. It's a little early in terms of long haul bookings for us to have much data on what's happening with the Chinese market. So it would be lovely to hear what the panel are finding, if they've got any insights to add to that. But just before I finish, I've got a couple of slides which are useful reminders of what we were looking at with the Chinese situation in 2019. And we can see here which destinations the Chinese market were interested in 2019. And the far column, year-over-year variation percent, is the percentage increase or decrease over the previous year, so that being 2018. And there's not a huge amount of variation in the popularity of these top 10 destinations, but we can see that Moscow, London and Rome, which are the ones with the green percentage there, they were showing a rise over the previous year in 2018. So it remains to be seen whether they will continue to see that upward trajectory, whether that will pick up again. The top two, Paris and Los Angeles, had seen a very, very small decline over 2018. But nothing, you know, enormous there. And unfortunately, San Francisco being the biggest slider at 15% from the year before. So again, it remains to be seen whether that will be carried through to 2022. And just a final slide as a piece of encouragement and a reminder that in 2019, we'd actually seen quite a lot of improvements in terms of flight connectivity between China and Europe in terms of increased seat capacity of non-Chinese carriers. So there was very much a leaning for these non-Chinese airlines, as you can see here listed in the chart, to be increasing their seat capacity over 2018. So lots of green here. The green percentages are all the airlines that were increasing capacity. So that was all set up in place. I know it's too early to say if these 2019 trends in the Chinese market will be picked up again in 2022, but that would certainly be the hope of the industry in terms of increasing that seat capacity and the returning of demand for the established destinations as we move from the intra-regional travel back to full-scale long haul. I think I will leave it there, Sophie, and hand back over to you. As I understand, this deck is available afterwards, is it not, for people to look in if they want to?
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Rachel. It was very, very insightful, very interesting to see. We will have both the recording of the webinar will be made available afterwards, and so will those decks. So that is that's good, and that would actually be sent to all of you as well. So tomorrow you will receive an email with the link to the recording, with the link to the slides, and so forth. So don't worry, you don't have to take any screenshots or anything now. It will be made available for you. Thank you so much, Rachel, once again. I know you have to head off now, but thank you so much for participating so far in the webinar. Thank you.
Thanks, Sophie.
And So back to you. Does that, what Rachel's just presented, how does that look on your side? Is that something you can you recognize the picture here? Can you see that there's slowly, things are slowly happening? I don't know, Elisa, I think you would like to comment first. Yes,
I can definitely relate looking at the numbers, especially for London. So the top destination in Europe for Trip.com has always been the UK, with the bigger focus in London. So for us, the 2019, I can completely agree with Rachel, was really a boom in terms of visitors, which we counted 3 times more compared to the 2018. Talking about Chinese travelers in the UK. And that was the year where the Golden Week, for example, have seen an incredible increase in terms of length of stay, lead time for all those customers. Even the month of May, June, and July, which is the summer holidays in China, we could see a lot of hotels really confirming a stronger pickup, a stronger traffic, and definitely a better reaction to what the hotels were offering to the Chinese customers. We could see a better interest and definitely an adaptation from the hotel side to welcome the Chinese customers. To give you some examples, for example, you mentioned earlier the language barrier. For the Chinese customers, it is essential to have someone at the hotel that speaks Chinese, because they will give them a better sense of confidence, or even a welcome letter or a Chinese breakfast, whatever facilities that can be very Chinese oriented, that will make a massive difference for them. Very important global chains started to have a sort of Chinese program for the Chinese New Year, for example, or for the Golden Week. Something that we can see now, especially as a part of our recovery plan to make our core market travel back in our destination, is kind of replicating what we've been doing in 2019. So literally advertise how the hotels in our top destinations are really waiting for them to come back, give them a sense of safety. I don't know if the other colleagues can relate, but this is for us a sort of priority to welcome back.
I would still just add, expand further from China itself to highlight the very fact that there are 49 million overseas Chinese, so Chinese living overseas, and with, of course, majority throughout the Southeast Asia. I'm sure Malcolm and Elisa, Trip nowadays is not just C-Trip anymore, so obviously covering more. And even when Rachel did the presentation talking about Singapore, majority of people in Singapore are Chinese. And so yes, I certainly agree with Elisa in terms of having the language and welcoming message to, when I say Chinese, not just from mainland China, probably from mainland China, that Chinese have less ability in languages and certainly more attached to the friendliness of the destination. So whichever destination shows friendly and welcoming, and they are more likely to come, and they are more likely to recommend the others. So for most of the Chinese, it doesn't matter where they live or come from, they always want to feel being welcome rather than being rejected or being, we are very politically sensitive as well, so we don't want to keep talking about politics during a leisure trip and so on. And so this is something that then again, some people used to say in the past that Chinese spend a lot of money on shopping and that is changing. I don't see the changing much, because I still meet many of the Chinese in Bicester Village, for example, even during the lockdown, because essentially they just they are very, very brand oriented. You know, Elisa being in Italy, and I guess Sharon has also Italian name, would know, you know, all the Italian brands, French brands, and even English brands are very much favored by the Chinese. So you may want to take advantage of that desire of buying foreign products by always making sure that, yeah, you are showing something original. I mean, that's what most visitors travel for, is to go to a destination to experience something that we don't have back home. And we want to experience anything original and anything that they can show to others. Say, oh, for example, I mentioned earlier on in my introduction that Roman baths. We don't have Roman baths in China, for example. I mean, just see that how the Romans lived in the UK or in Europe. I mean, the same when we visit Italy, we always go to the Colosseum, to the Forum, and so on. These are the places that attract Chinese. So we want to just make sure that the destinations, not just national, but regional and local level, always highlight the uniqueness of a destination, and also peacefulness. I already see the question in the question being asked about current situation. Yes, unfortunately, any situation like the war breaking out, Malcolm earlier on talked about 9/11, can deter anyone, not just Chinese, anyone from traveling. But we are a bit more, safety conscious. Also, we haven't genuinely seen any Chinese being worried about traveling to other parts of Europe if we need to travel. Many people are still seeking flights. Very good news, in case I forget, direct flights between China and UK are resuming very much 2 weeks from today, on the 17th, 2 weeks from today. So a lot of Chinese stuck in UK want to go back. And of course, there are more Chinese coming this way as well. That's why they are resuming direct flight. And I'm sure those flights will be full of Chinese, again, visiting for various reasons. So obviously, we just need to be prepared for that. So that I leave it for now.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Adam. And yes, you just touched on the horrendous war that's going on in Ukraine right now, and I think that is something we will obviously need to touch on, because this might impact demand. So it would be interesting to also hear from Sharon and Malcolm both about the slides and the demand from your side, but if you also want to touch on the demand and the requests and the questions you're getting about the war, that would also be interesting. Sharon, do you wanna start?
If we go back to the slide, in terms of source market, what we are seeing is in line with the data. So the majority of groups on the road we had were from Singapore in particular and Thailand. So clearly the demand was for the VTL countries, and that made a big difference in where we actually had the business. So for Singapore, it was easier because they don't need a visa to travel to Europe. So we had massive demand for last minute tours. We booked 1-2 weeks before departure even, and the tours were often mono country, or they were crossing different countries but all within the VTL. So Netherlands, Germany, France for sure, and countries like Belgium or Eastern Europe in general have been left behind because they were not part of the VTL. So this clearly was a big drive in the demand. Of course, we saw massive changes in the demand and peaks when the quarantine was introduced or the restrictive measures were eased. So that, of course, gave straight away effects. So the day after, we would have cancellations or confirmation or new demand based on how the government would decide to proceed in each individual country. Referring to the situation, the current political situation, we haven't had cancellation necessarily linked to the war right now. We don't know, it's probably too early to say. We need to wait and see maybe 1 or 2 weeks how it's gonna develop. Obviously, the assumption is that Eastern Europe and Central Europe are possibly more largely being affected rather than Western and Southern Europe. Then, of course, certain source markets are more sensitive than others. Others are more resilient. What really surprised me, for example, over the last couple of months is that Singaporeans were still traveling to the Netherlands when there was a curfew at 7 p.m. So they were having dinner at the hotel, takeaway, without having the possibility to go to restaurant. And, you know, I was really surprised. I thought that would have been canceled instead. Instead, they made it, which is really a sign of will to travel and to make things possible, even when it doesn't look like it. So we stay positive, and we take our strength from seeing these happening and demand still coming. So that's the idea.
Thank you very much, Sharon. Malcolm, would you like to comment?
Yes, I mean, our own business broadly reflects the stats that Rachel showed. And we currently have four major markets really on the road and traveling relatively unaffected in Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand. I think looking at those stats that were presented, one of the big issues that we've got that's out of our hands as a panel are the flights and getting the flights back up to capacity and the number of routes. The feedback I get from India is very much, you know, we've got as much business as you possibly want, we just can't get the flights. So it'd be interesting to see as and when the airlines start ramping up the number of routes again. I think that's key. We can come on to some of the other markets in a minute. So I need to touch on Adam's point about Beijing to London reopening. In terms of destinations, yes, exactly, reflecting the same. Switzerland and Turkey very much in demand and proving very, very popular. So I wanted to ask, I'll just one more bit on the situation in Ukraine. Obviously, it's still early, and just following up on what Sharon was saying, the only other destination that may well be affected is Scandinavia, because a number of tour operators tend to feature St. Petersburg as part of their itinerary for Scandinavia. So we will wait and see how that pans out, what decisions are taken, but broadly, you know, in agreement with everything Sharon has said. So Adam, over to you. You say that Beijing to London is reopening in 2 weeks' time.
It's Guangzhou, actually. The first flight is between the Guangzhou and London route is resuming in 2 weeks for sure, because the flights are already booked. And Beijing will follow probably a bit later, because we are still hosting the Winter Olympics starting this Friday, the Winter Olympics for another week or so. So, which is also a good sign, because those of you who have seen the success of the Winter Olympic in Beijing, we've been eagerly waiting for that, just because it was a test case to see if large events can, you know, affect the spread of COVID or not, and it did not. So that gives the authorities the confidence. And even prior to the Winter Olympics, the head of the CDC in China, which is like Dr. Fauci's figure, spoke very officially that we are reaching the herd immunity by achieving over 80%, probably by now 85% of vaccination rates, and mostly most people would have double or triple jabs. So that means that the pandemic is coming to the end, we hope, really. And I think it's a case in the UK that people don't feel, you know, there's no talk about the pandemic anymore. And so it's more like, yes, it's happening, but so what? That's the thing. And then if it's not causing a public panic and also major concern, then of course, the comment from the head of CDC was saying he doesn't see the reason for stringent quarantine, which was the real reason for you know, the lack of outbound travel, because there was no universal ban as such, some people may think, but it's just a matter of the necessity for quarantine, you know, coming back 2 weeks in the hotel, then 1 week back in your city, and then 1 week self-isolation. That's put most people off from international travel. And as soon as those quarantines are removed, people will travel. Actually, I want to go back to a point I made earlier on. While most people are safety conscious and so on, after 9/11 and even 7/7 bombing, I remember very well that when the Americans were really scared of traveling because they canceled most bookings, and yet the third day of after the 5th day, I would say it's 12th of July, the biggest group of Chinese arrived in London after 7/7 bombing. So that was headlines and was received by the royalty. And then, we traveled all throughout the UK and so on. It just demonstrated that we are not so much, affected in the sense that I explained the reason for that is among one who is worried. I'm sure there are people that are very worried about COVID still traveling in plane and so on. But for one who is worried, there may be 3 people are eager to go somewhere or cannot go, or just still fighting for the flight. I mean, the real problem among the travel trade we are in contact every day is everybody still asking everybody else, say, how can we get a flight? Every flight out of China going to China are fully booked and the price is just sky high. So that just indicates to you, once the flight, I think coming back to what Malcolm just said, when the flights resume, so we are very dependent, the international travel is very dependent on the flight availability. If the aviation resumes, to answer the question in the chat there, that then the international travel will follow for sure, And earlier Rachel said that the figure shows during not just one Golden Week Chinese New Year, but the May Day holiday, 2020, that was only a few months, 3-4 months after the initial breakout. The domestic travel already rebounded significantly. And then by October, it surpassed even that of the year before. So this domestically, because the flight were not so much affected. And of course, nowadays, when there's local infection and so on, because China took such stringent measure and often just put people off for traveling to that specific destination, but to others, not yet. So we just really hope that this war does not cause, disruption to the aviation. When they were talking about no fly zone, that worries everybody, because if no fly zone is imposed to more and more destinations, and then of course that affects surely the international flights, and that worries us in the trades. But we really hope, and we hope we can work together to stop this war. It's completely unnecessary, unjustified. I'm not political, but I genuinely feel it's not necessary, not justified, and it affects everybody else, probably to deeper extent than even the COVID, because it's, to give people this unsafe feeling, deep inside us. Sorry for talking a bit longer.
No, that's okay. And Adam, I think we are all completely in agreement with you with this war. It has to stop. Yeah, it's very tragic what's happening on the ground in Ukraine.
Sure.
I would like to take a little step back, and because obviously very important, like thinking about aviation, that is the main, and it's really, really good to see that you are saying the demand is here, but we just need those flight routes to be opened back again, and we will see Asian clients back on the ground in Europe. But when they come to Europe, then what do they need? What does the Asian clientele want from hotels, from suppliers in general? I know, Elisa, you mentioned it before about feeling especially for the Chinese clientele, feeling welcome by Chinese speaking staff, or at least something in Chinese. But is there anything else? And maybe I'll start with you again, Elisa, about what suppliers can do. And also, Adam, you mentioned destinations as well. Destinations need to make the Asian traveler feel welcome. But Elisa, if you want to start talking about a bit more about
that's a very interesting question. So I was mentioning the adaptation that many global chains, local chains, independent hotels have been doing to welcome our Chinese customers, our Asian customers. Something that's probably a little bit off topic, but that is a trend that we've been analyzing over the last year, is that lately a specific region from China never stopped traveling, even during the pandemic, was the Hong Kong region. So I don't know, it was pretty much everywhere in the news due to the social conflicts affecting the Hong Kong. We are experiencing so many bookings, so many customers literally re-establishing in the UK. And that is something that is quite remarkable, because they are pretty much running away from their hometown, and they're coming in a destination where they will feel the, you know, the welcome, the comfort. Something that really attracted their, what we can see, their will to come is the safety. They need to rebuild their future in a place where we know there will be more democracy, more freedom to express themselves. We could see so many properties having 1 month, 2 months stay coming from these people. So that is something that currently it's part of our day-to-day analysis and, you know, production. Dr. Adam mentioned about so many reasons why the Chinese customers travel in pretty much talking about my market, the UK. A lot of students coming from from China wanting to study in the UK. A lot of corporate travel. It's true, they are not afraid to travel. They will come and stay for a month to really get back to their job, to really make sure that there is a recovery in place. And yes, definitely the Hong Kong situation gave us the understanding that we never really stop receiving production and business from the China market, not even in the middle of the very strict lockdown last year with the Delta variant. Currently, looking at the way Trip.com is expanding, we can definitely say, yes, there is a lot of, you know, a growth in terms of domestic European market, but our Chinese businesses, he's still sitting at 40 to 50% daily. That really explains how much will, how much desire we can feel. They really need to have the better I would say, a better benefit to travel. So currently they need still to stop. So their journey will be longer compared to a direct flight, but the will is there.
Yeah, and also if you don't mind, I'll add further expand from Elisa's point that because such large number of Chinese are coming to Europe to study, to work, just give you more precise figure, just for UK as an example, that there are over 140,000 Chinese students currently studying and living in the UK. Now that's a significant number. And there are several millions in Europe alone. And obviously we wish the larger number of Chinese tourists will eventually resume to Europe. But even before that, the international flights will resume again. I would encourage local destinations within Europe, for example, even within UK itself, to make yourself more welcoming to those Chinese living or working in those destinations. Just because somehow when we are in Europe, even in one country, we want to go to other countries. And that's, since my time, when I was a student in Europe, I actually traveled to all the European countries I can't think of any, exception. And the more you travel, the more you like to travel. And when one travels, it tempts the others. But that's also give you the indication. I'm just speaking to the audience. I assume that many are destination promotion authorities or incoming service providers is always make yourself welcoming, so that then they will spread that word very rapidly. And especially nowadays, we share the experience almost instantly. With, you use TikTok and so on. In China, it's Douyin, the same. That maybe it's right time to say that right before the war, even during the war, I would say that there are Chinese, there's still several 4,000 or 5,000 Chinese in Ukraine, for example. Many of them still sharing, what's going on there using social media. And before that, during the lockdown time, Ukraine announced visa-free travel for the Chinese, and many Chinese did arrive there. What did they do is not like just tourists visiting one place. They did live streaming, because that is a big thing in China. Those younger ones, that they would go to a destination, they want to show others how they are living, how they are making friends, and so on. And that would become a tremendous, promotional to of your destination, of your service. And as far as you don't mind them showing you a hotel, and you know, just like those athletes, the Olympic athletes that shared how they lived in the Olympic Village, and the food, you see that all served by robots and so on. It's amazing. It's something that catch people's eyes. And I'm sure that any visitor, you know, I don't just say the Chinese, because again, that's you know, anyone that's going to any destination, when we are sharing to others, is a way of promoting that destination and that service as well. So just want to make everyone aware that you know, nothing can really stop traveling, because we have two legs, and people were born to move around, and so if you know, obviously Ukraine may not be the right place to go now, but certainly won't stop people from going to other destinations in Europe. And UK is you know, opening up almost completely, and then you can see how quickly the international flights, direct flights are resuming. And earlier on, Rachel's figure showed, given using Singapore as an example, as soon as those restrictions were removed, and then suddenly it's a surge. So we hope that is the case, and let's see that, as I say, we hope for the best and we prepare for the worst. So let's see what's the worst will come.
That's good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. There are two things I would like to touch on before we end, and that is within, I know that's definitely within Sharon's specialty, and I know everyone else as well, another thing with Malcolm's specialty. So Sharon, if you can talk a little bit about the Asian demand for hotels, accommodation, what is there, what is needed there, and then Malcolm, maybe because you mentioned in the beginning that you work only with DMCs, so kind of how can the DMC world help you and your clientele? Whichever of you will start, maybe Malcolm, you start, you go ahead.
Okay, well, I'll start. I think the way we position ourselves is as the sales extension for DMCs to reach these prohibitively expensive markets that we're involved in with huge potential and large volumes. The market is very competitive, and in order for us to compete, we have to turn around our quotes very, very, very quickly. That's the key. It's price and speed of return. So this can cause challenges for DMCs who are not used to the marketplace. So myself and the team here in London, as well as the team in Hong Kong, are here to help and guide people through those challenges, particularly when it comes to providing local restaurants for Chinese food, or for Malaysian, Indonesian cuisine, or Thai cuisine. We can do all of that for you. There are a number of challenges that we're facing, and it might be another question that you have, but during the pandemic, it was difficult to get responses, of course, because a lot of staff were furloughed. In addition to that, their actual supply line was furloughed, the hotels, the transport companies, the restaurants. You know, it was very, very difficult. And meanwhile, business goes on as usual in Hong Kong in particular. You know, with Taiwan due to open from 1st of June as a high volume market into Europe. You know, we do need quick responses. You know, they're not going to wait around. And so my sort of message to DMCs and some of the great partnerships we have is if you don't know, if there's no one there to speak to, estimate. You know what the prices are going to be. Don't hang around and don't wait for replies from suppliers. Just get on with it. That's the key to winning the business. That's the key to driving the business. There are a lot of trends going on at the moment which impacts on price. From every market, the trend is very much moving to smaller size groups, family groups of 8 to 10 people, even as a kind of protection against COVID. If you're traveling with family, you're not traveling with strangers. So from a DMC's point of view and from a supplier's point of view, it's good to think now about minivans and sprinters in terms of getting people around. There's an impact of price, of course, there. In addition to that, I'm sure Sharon will echo it as well. We still have many markets that will want a 49-seater coach, but will only half fill that. and that's a COVID protection policy, really. That's the way they're looking at it, if you've got spacing between each seat. So there's some of the challenges we're facing and some of the issues that we'd like the DMCs and suppliers to address. If you're a hotel chain as well, you do need to think about flexibility, where before you might have been holding 25 rooms, you still hold 25 rooms, but be flexible on your releases. Be kind to your DMCs. They're supporting you, and we're supporting you in the Asian markets. All of which, and I'm sure it's possibly your closing remarks, but all of which expect to be back up to 2019 figures and beyond in 2023.
That's encouraging signs, Malcolm, from you, and an interesting points about the hotels and about the DMCs, about the lack of staff. That is a massive issue, obviously, and also the smaller groups. And I think this is exactly a conversation I had with Sharon a few days ago as well. So Sharon, maybe you want to add to this as well, and just some notes on your side.
Yes, clearly I share Malcolm's view about smaller size groups, which are in very high demand right now. And we need suppliers to be as flexible as possible, because we are doing our best to bring the business back, but we need support from the suppliers as well. So we absolutely understand that minimum pax number for groups usually apply, but in this case, we need to be open-minded and flexible enough to stimulate the demand. And in that sense, of course, we have issues with attractions who maybe are implementing new procedures for reservations, or coach companies who have different arrangements. So we have our part of the job to do, but we also need suppliers to be flexible enough. At the same time, where there are challenges, there are opportunities. So of course, if it's very difficult to find local restaurants, this means that there is more chance for hotels to sell dinner at the hotel half board. So this is a great opportunity for all properties who have had BB bookings only until now. In Germany, for example, there are certain regions where an antigen test is required to go to the restaurant. So for vaccinated travelers, it's much more convenient to have dinner at the hotel instead. Another point which is really important is the majority of the travelers would require a PCR test before departure. So for all the hotels who are able to arrange that at the hotel, or is partnered with any local clinic or pharmacy, that's also important, and it's an opportunity. We would definitely choose hotels who give that possibility and make our life more simple, rather than hotels who are not supportive in this sense. It's considering that we have more and more mono-country destinations. Something that is really out there is an opportunity is for secondary destinations to shine. So for example, we had mono Netherlands tours. So we have Maastricht, we have Rotterdam, so many destinations which were not taken into account earlier. This is your moment, so try to make the most out of it. And for all the hotels, just speak up if you're interested in group business, even smaller groups, because now is the moment. Just tell us that you renovated your rooms, tell us that your email has been changed, because now when we send out inquiries, the majority of the emails come back and that address is not read anymore. So just tell us that you're open, tell us that you're there, that you're able to offer the dinner, and that you're flexible. And of course, we haven't forgotten of all the suppliers who waived cancellation fees 2 years ago. So clearly we remember you. Thank you for your support. Our clients appreciate, and we will give priority to the suppliers who supported us in that sense.
Thank you. I think there's some very encouraging signs, some encouraging words from all of you for the Asian clientele to come back. Hopefully, as you say, Malcolm, in 2023 we'll see it full back in a 2019 style.
Sophie, I forgot something which is quite important. COVID is not over, so it is possible that somebody tests positive on the road. And we had this case in many countries, and the reception wasn't ready for it. They didn't know how to advise. In every region, there are different rules and requirements. So you might need to inform local authorities, or the passenger might need to isolate at the hotel straight away. So it is very important that the staff knows what to do in that case and support with damage control, so that it's very difficult for us because many times we have tours going to different regions, different countries in 10 days. So, and we never know when it's going to happen. So to prevent is impossible, but to have a supplier who's able to deal with the situation, it's really important, and coordinating for the damage control. So
maybe better to be prepared. I just one sentence also in reflection of what Elisa said earlier on, that many visitors stay much longer nowadays, often out of necessity. They don't want to move out of a place too long. I don't know how many hotels are nowadays making apartments, for example, rather than just a hotel room, because by having an apartment self-contained, it would certainly meet the demand of those who stay longer, who need to stay longer. And also in case there is, one positive test positive, you can put in that self-contained, apartment for isolation very naturally, and you don't lose out anything because the client is still there. Obviously, he or she is still paying for, and also doesn't affect or spreads over in the hotel. So I just wonder how quickly the hotels are, adjusting themselves. I know it's not easy to convert the entire hotel into apartment, but I also know that the self-service apartments were even popular before COVID. Just hope that more and more hoteliers or other service providers, see that trend and adapt quickly.
Thank you, Adam, for that comment as well. I think we could potentially talk another hour about this, because this is really good conversations. I will end the webinar now though, because I think an hour is probably good for everyone. But if you would like to discuss more, and if you would like to hear more about Asian demand, if you like to connect with operators that are based in Asia or have Asian clientele, then you can come and attend our marketplace on in the end of April, 28th of April. Elisa, do you want to do the final remarks about this event as well, so we can just say that this is the place to go if you want to make these connections now?
Good.
You can join that.
Thank you, Sophie, to offer me this opportunity again. I would like to emphasize that on the 28th of April, that will be Thursday, ETOA is organizing the first edition of our online B2B workshop, European Travel Marketplace, East and Southeast Asia. The great news is we have got quite a good mix of buyers from Southeast Asia, including China, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Japan, and South Korea. So this is the first time ever we including these countries, not just China. China always the biggest market. However, we don't forget these other Asian markets, because during the pandemic, I think they are getting better and better, the situation. Also, they are recovering. They still need to searching the new product, the new partnership with European local supply. So please join us and attend this event. And hopefully you can find the right suppliers and the right buyer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Elise. And thank you much. And thank you very much, everyone, all the panelists here. It has been very insightful, and I can see all the comments are coming in. So people have really enjoyed this webinar. It has been great to hear from you. Hopefully we will get back to it all soon again. So thank you very much, everyone, and have a lovely rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I will make our contact available for the participants. So if they have a specific question, they can reach out to us. My contact is not secret, so okay.
That's good. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.